Desiccation is the process of spraying a herbicide on a crop before that crop has reached the point where you could harvest it. So basically, if you look out in a field and you see some green areas out in the field, a lot of times people will say, boy, I wish I get a frost to kill that off. Well, you can also do it with this process of desiccation. There's some crops like sunflowers, for example, where desiccation is real common. There are other crops like corn where desiccation is not very common. So today we wanted to talk just a little bit about when to desiccate and what to use.
Okay, there's a few things here at play. One is weed control, and this year there's going to be a lot of fields that have problems with weeds. Why? Well, we had a wet spring. Let's take the case of many wheat fields across the country this year. Guys just couldn't get in there. It just kept raining and raining and raining, and it was really tough to even get out in the fields and make those applications. All of a sudden, you're past the time where you can really do anything to control it. We had a lot of guys saying, man, I'm already past flag leaf here, and I still haven't got my weed control on. What can I do? Well, for many of those farmers, a desiccation was going to be the option of, you know what, just before harvest, I'm going to go.
Now, I don't look at that as desiccation at all. So how I view that is that's just simply a pre-harvest burn down. What I view as desiccation is, hey, we're doing something with the crop. The pre-harvest burn down is something to do with the weeds. But to Darren's point here, it really doesn't matter because you're faced with the exact same thing. The crop has to reach a certain stage so we don't hurt the crop anymore, and we also have to beat the pre-harvest interval.
Well, there are two things here too, Brian. When you say we don't hurt the crop, we don't want to hurt yield, but also we're looking at quality. And if you're thinking about, well, this is going to be a seed production field of wheat, that pre-harvest burn down or desiccation, however you want to look at that, has a tendency to hurt the germination on that seed. Now, it does nothing to hurt the feed quality or whatnot. Your wheat's still going to be fine, but it could hurt the germination enough that you may want to save a different field for seed. Now, in terms of preserving yield, what we normally will look at is we want to get under 30% moisture in our wheat crop. And generally, if you're going out there, just a thumbnail test is something many farmers will do. Press your thumbnail into the side of the kernel. If that thumbnail remains, you're in a good spot for desiccation, but I would strongly recommend take some in, do a little moisture testing and see where you're at. If you're under 30, now it's something where you can go in and do that pre-harvest burn down.
Now, I mentioned just a little bit earlier, it gets late in the season and a lot of farmers will tell me, boy, Brian, I wish we'd get a frost now to even everything up so I can go out and harvest. Or maybe I should go do a desiccation. And I say, whoa, whoa, whoa. What I've always found is the later the frost is, the more yield we end up with. Because very often we have spots in fields that are still reaching maturity. They're not there yet. We want to give them as much time as possible. And I realize this makes it really challenging when you want to get out and harvest. We on our own farms sometimes will go out, leave some of those green areas in the field, and come back a couple weeks later and get them. So what Darren said there, getting under 30% moisture as a general statement, like for wheat, for example, is a good idea, but there are a lot of different crops you can desiccate. And the number one thing that I wanted to tell you today is use desiccation methods with great care. Because if you go out even just a day or two early, it absolutely can and will hurt yield, and it does often hurt grain quality and test weight as well.
Well, here you go, Brian. You get another challenge where guys have lots of acres and they say, you know what, I'm going to desiccate this field. Then a couple days later, I'm going to do another field. And that way I can kind of space out what my harvest is going to be and start scheduling when I'm going to have combines hitting those fields. There are so many different reasons why you may consider doing a desiccation. The big thing here is you want a product that's going to do what you need. Like, let's take, for example, when we're talking about wheat, if you've got some Canada thistle out there, you probably want to use Roundup. Well, you've got to time that out right because you need at least 7 days before harvest. And you're going to use a pretty strong rate of Roundup. It's going to do a good job getting down into the root system of Canada thistle, but it's not going to kill everything off super quick like something like Gramoxone could do. Now, if you need that fast browning of the field, Gramoxone is generally a product that many farmers choose.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You've got to look at the label and make sure that Roundup is approved, or Gramoxone, or Sharpen, or Valor. I mean, there are a lot of different products that can be used for desiccation. So check the label, check the pre-harvest interval, check what they say for what the right timing is on that application. But what Darren said there is super important. With Gramoxone, it burns very quickly. Roundup is the slowest of these desiccation or pre-harvest burn down products. So very different products, just depends on what you need.
So to sum things up, if you're looking for something to do desiccation, our preferred products are generally Gramoxone or Sharpen. Sharpen's going to leave you some soil residual where Gramoxone leaves none. And then if we're looking at a pre-harvest burn down, typically we're using Roundup.
Well, all those products will control weeds, but will they stop our Weed of the Week? We'll tell you coming up right after this.